All right, we are live streaming on YouTube. I'm just making sure I get everybody in.
Evening to everyone.
Hi, Gary. Hi, Mary.
I think we're missing Sean and Marcus.
Hey, everybody, real quick.
Well, the intelligence just went up in the room.
The first child of Lake Stevens.
What's up? Future mayor.
Maybe.
Sean's out. Sean's in the waiting room.
Yep, I'm bringing him in right now. Thanks. I'm still missing Marcus.
You could have left me in the waiting room.
Hi, Sean.
Hello.
Didn't mean to leave you long.
No, mere seconds. Mere seconds.
Who are we waiting on? Marcus?
Marcus, yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Mary, I like your shirt.
You know, it's really sunny right now. Can we delay this for about an hour?
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah, the sun's
Body
finally
light.
out.
Maybe it's a field trip out in North Cove.
I'll be there in 10.
I don't see him. Hopefully he didn't go to the exec session first. I assume he'll let us know.
Well, 6 o'clock, we better get started.
Yep, let's get going. So,
Thank you.
Okay. I guess the
That's
meeting's
new.
being recorded.
That's never happened before.
Yeah.
Just let me know.
You know, that's the only thing that's constant is change.
all right. So with that, let's start this Lake Stevens City Council meeting. It's Tuesday, May 25th, 2021. This meeting is being held remote access only via Zoom, and it is being, I don't know if it's being broadcast right now on YouTube, but it will be able to be found on YouTube for future use. And with that, I'll call to order, and I'll ask everyone to rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the
United
States of America
Republic
and to the republic for which it stands,
of
one
God,
nation,
indivisible,
under God, indivisible, liberty, and justice for all.
We'll get there eventually.
All right, perfect. So with that, let's do a roll call. Kelly?
Councilmember Daughtry,
I'm here, thank you.
Councilmember Peter Shaken,
Present.
Councilmember Frederick,
Here.
Councilmember Dickinson,
Here.
Councilmember Jorstad. I see you. I can't hear you. Councilmember
can't
Jorstad.
hear me?
Oh, I can now. Perfect.
Okay, here.
Councilmember Ewing
Present.
and Councilmember Tagent. Don't see him yet.
Can I get a motion to excuse Councilmember Tagit?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, and with that, we'll go to approval of agenda. And what I would ask on the agenda is a couple of things. One, we only have our council for the first half of the meeting. So I would ask that we move the executive session to immediately after the approval of the agenda. And I would also ask to move item G to an action item, as we need to do some more discussion on that. And I would also ask to strike action item I, as I'll take care of that business under my under mayor's business.
Mayor Gailey, can you repeat what you said in the beginning, that we only have something for half the meeting?
Oh, I'm sorry. We only have Greg for the first portion of the meeting, and he needs to be part of the executive session.
Thank
So-
you.
All right, so we have those changes from the mayor.
Mayor, can I say something really quick? We also need to add a second topic for the executive session, potential litigation.
Okay.
Does everybody understand that?
Yes, I also was wondering if we wanted to add a discussion item around the DEI&A ordinance that we received. Or the draft.
Okay, so are you proposing that we add that?
Yeah, I am proposing that we add that.
Okay, so we have an additional request from Council Member Jorstad to add the discussion about the DEIA ordinance that was passed out yesterday to everybody. And we have what's on the agenda that the mayor wants to change. Is there any additions, deletions, or discussion about the changes to the agenda?
Whereabouts on the agenda would the discussion take place?
I believe it would be after the action items.
Okay.
Right. We can do that after that.
Any other discussion, questions?
Move
right,
to
so-
approve the agenda or has that already been done?
Nope, hasn't been done.
Move to approve the agenda as amended by mayor and council.
Second.
Okay, so we have a move, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstained? Mr. Mayor, you have a council, you have an agenda.
All right, great. So with that, we're going to move into executive session then. The topic is going to be performance of a public employee, as well as, what was it, Anya, I didn't write it down.
Potential litigation.
And potential litigation, no action to follow, and should be 15 minutes. So if the council would move over to your team's invite, we'll head that way.
Make sure you mute your mics and turn off your video.
add on that or want to explain it to other agencies?
We have everybody.
Everybody but Mrs. Mary.
Oh, there she is. Over here.
All right. So we have everyone back from executive session. So with that, we'll move into citizens' comments. And just so I can gauge time here, can people in the attendees area who want to provide citizens' comments, can you raise your hand now for me so I know what we can gauge here as far as time?
I'm sorry, Mary, could you repeat that question? Sorry, it went right over my head.
I was just having the attendees raise their hands now so I can gauge time on citizens' comments.
Okay.
Looks like we have quite a few. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We'll do citizens' comments now, and we'll do 2 minutes on the citizens' comments for time's sake. And how we'll do citizens' comments is if you raise your hand, we'll call upon you and bring you into the panelist area. And what we should probably do, Kelly, is maybe bring 2 or 3 in at a time for time's sake. Sure. So, and when you come in, we'll acknowledge you. Please turn off your or turn on your microphone or unmute your microphone. I'm sorry, and you'll have 2 minutes to address the council on your citizens' comments. We ask you to say your name and your address. And let's go ahead and bring in Stephanie Meyer, Angelica Winnick, and Courtney Stepp. And Stephanie, you have the floor. Go ahead and unmute.
Hi, thank you. It went blank right as you brought me in, so I wasn't sure what you had said. I'm just here again to address the DEI&A Commission. I am for that as opposed to the advisory council. Yeah, and I just want to recognize my family is multi-generational here as well as multicultural. I'm Shaken Taigungan as well as Caucasian, so Native American. I'm tribally enrolled. My husband's actually tribally affiliated and Caucasian as well. And I grew up here in Lake Stevens when we were fully assimilated. We didn't even talk about our heritage. It just wasn't something that you were supposed to bring up. And I'm ready to raise my children differently. And I think this DEI&A Commission would go a long ways to help us address the systemic impacts of so many things. I also have a disabled brother in the household, and my father lives with us, an elderly. He's an elder, not elderly. Yeah, so just so much of the spectrum impacts my family personally and so many of my friends and family members in the area. And I'm just really excited to get this moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie. And let's go with, I'm sorry, Angelica, go ahead. Is it Angelica?
Yeah, Angelica Wienik at 1610 113th Drive Southeast.
Okay.
I'm speaking just as well with the DEIA Commission versus the advisory board as a BIPOC member of our community, and I am also an educator in our city, and this work is really just where my heart and time and passion really lie for myself and my family, but also all of our BIPOC community members which I was so pleasantly surprised to hear that is over 25% of our community and growing. With a commission, just I think really being rooted in transparency and accountability, but also partnership. Our town, I explain all the time to my friends that do not live here, how it truly is growing and is amazing, but really has that small town community. And I think having a DEIA commission will really just be a reflection of that, and really to just have growth in that as well. So I just really encourage that is brought forward so that we can really, our leadership and this commission and our community can really just continue to collaborate to really make this a safe and amazing place for all of our community members. So, thank you.
Thank you. And let's go with Courtney Stepp. And while we're waiting for her, would you bring in Brianna Bogie, Stephanie Ruiz, and Joy Ratzel?
Yep.
Courtney, go ahead.
I'm here. Hi, my name is Courtney Stepp. I am a former resident of Lake Stevens. I grew up in Lake Stevens from 1991 and moved out of Lake Stevens for the last time in 2013. And I'm showing up today to support a community that needs change. And one of the ways that I know that that change can happen is through the DEIA Commission. A commission is going to be a collective of a community where we can trust the process of the circle, and that everything that needs to be changed, that is needed for change, will exist within our community. There's a need for transparency and accountability and dismantling white supremacy culture that exists in the community. The power of a story. I'm going to tell you a little bit about me. I moved to Lake Stevens in 1991 from White Center, Seattle. I did not know what racism was till I moved to Lake Stevens, where every single student in my class appeared to identify as white Caucasian. I babysat for the only Black family on the block, and I never knew why they had to move out of the community until probably about 10 years ago. I think that the community is, I now live in Renton. I live at 2804 Southeast 8th Place in Renton. And one of my passions is dismantling white supremacy culture within organizations that exist in our culture. Was that the time?
No, you have 15 seconds.
Oh, thank you for the time for allowing me to come back into the space, and I am supporting the implementation of a DEIA commission as opposed to a work group led by a white guy being chosen.
All right, thank you, Courtney. Appreciate all your comments. Stephanie Ruiz, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
All right, so I just wanted to comment today because I want to make sure that it's clear to the council and to you, Mayor. You know, we've talked, you and I, about an advisory board versus a commission. I've talked to Kim, I've talked to Angie at different times. I think I've even spoken with a few of the other council members on why a commission is important. And I think the most critical part is the transparency that the structure of a commission offers. And many people from the BIPOC community and allies within Lake Stevens feel that, including myself, feel that that's the right step to go with carrying forward more focus on how do we make Lake Stevens, you know, more diversity friendly, more welcoming, more accepting. And I think that, you know, it's great if, like I've told you before when we were meeting, that it's great if you want to have an advisory board. It's, you know, it's an awesome thing to have one, but it does not take the place of a commission. And a commission is where our journey's at right now. We need to bring people together. We need to be uniting. We look to you guys as our leadership to unite. And we expect that of you. And we hope that you are amplifying voices in the community that are from a diverse population and prioritizing those and seeking solutions that people can stand behind and support you in. So I appreciate you giving us the time to talk, me, myself specifically. And I really hope that we're being listened to. And I just want to make sure that it's clear that a lot of people, I think, you can't just stand something out without legitimacy and credibility. And I think people will have more faith in a system that is, in implementing a body that requires the transparency, and it's not just at a discretion of a mayor.
All right, thank you, Stephanie. Joy, go ahead. Joy? Yep.
Thank you. Yes, I am Joy Ratzel. Thank you for giving me a moment to speak. I am fully in support of a DEINA commission. I think that the increase in people calling in about this speaks a lot about how the current BIPOC community in our town is feeling. And I think it speaks a lot about how they feel they would be best represented. And as Kim Daughtry said at the beginning of the meeting, before you guys broke out into your executive portion of the meeting, change is the only thing that is consistent. So I think embracing that is a beautiful thing. And just as Stephanie said, we love you guys as our elected officials to be the ones to hear what our community says. And right now the BIPOC community in Lake Stevens is speaking loud and clear that a DEIA commission is what we need. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Joy. And let's bring in Elizabeth, Samantha, and I think it's Lena. I'm sorry if I'm not saying that right. And Brianna, go ahead.
Hi there. My name is Brenna Bogie. I apologize if I'm not super eloquent right now. I am the third generation in my family to grow up and remain in Lake Stevens, but I'm the first to be not afraid enough to speak about this kind of thing. I have a lot of BIPOC family, friends, and immediate neighbors. And I'm also obviously here to speak about the City of Lake Stevens' need for a city commission. I feel really strongly about engaging the citizens of Lake Stevens in the democratic process. This advice needs to be given from the perspective of actual citizens within our community. I think this will broaden views and widen discussion topics. I just love to see the Lake Stevens government grow in their transparency and accountability to the public. I think this is a beautiful opportunity to do that and build trust between the community and government. I encourage and back the implementation of a DEIA commission. And that's all for me. Thank you.
Brenna, thank you. Samantha, go ahead.
Hi, I am here today to voice my support for a DEIA commission rather than a advisory panel. As a mom of a disabled daughter and a grandmother of a Hispanic granddaughter, I want to see my community as a place where everyone is included, everyone's looked after, and we are able to have transparency and inclusion in all that we do. So I just want to voice my support for a DEI commission for the council. Thank you.
Thank you, Samantha. And is it Lena? Lena?
It's Lena. Yes. Thank
Lena.
you, Mayor. My name is Angelina DiFiore Muzzy, and I'm at 11707 20th Street. Thank you all for your time and efforts, as always. I'm here. I'm also here to support the DEIA Commission versus the advisory panel. As someone who is disabled and identifies as part of the LGBTQIA+ community. It's really important to me that I feel like I'm better represented here in the community, and I strongly feel like the commission will provide that for me and people like me. I strongly believe that you, Mayor, have so much to focus on already that having this coexist with you would only make your job more effective. And like many have mentioned, it would build transparency and trust, which would help the longevity of your career if this is something that you want to continue to pursue. Many cities are successful in doing this with their city councils and mayors, so I'm confident Lake Stevens can do it as well. We need to ensure that the 25% of our BIPOC community feels seen and heard, and I honestly feel like having this commission board would definitely be the right choice. So thank you. That's all I'd like to say.
Thank you. Appreciate it. If we could move Stephanie and Lena back out to the attendees, and let's bring in Julia, Alyssa Miller, and Lindsay Price. And Elizabeth, you have the floor.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Excellent. I'm Elizabeth Quello. I am a Lake Stevens resident. Once again, I'm here to say my support of the DEIA Commission. We've been asking for one for over a year now. The support for one is constantly growing. Our population diversity is changing rapidly. We need to have this commission to show that we are willing to grow with our changing population and celebrate the diverse voices that are, wanting to bring their families here and grow here and make a living here and all that fun stuff. I think the advisory council, in my opinion, is like a nice compromise, but it's not what people are asking for. And so I really think the commission would be more suitable than the advisory council. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Elizabeth. And Kelly, can we bring in Julia, Alyssa, and Lindsay? Julia, you have the floor.
Hi there. Good evening. Hope you guys are doing well. So feel a bit like I'm probably going to repeat here. Also supporting the DEIA commission and asking that be the thing rather than the advisory council. Basically, just because I've heard, I'm white, but I've heard from people of color that that's the better thing for reasons that people have already given. And hopefully Mayor Gailey and other council members will maybe say why an advisory council was thought of, but yeah, just hopefully commission will be made, because I think that's important. Right, thank you.
Thank you, Julia. And Alyssa, go ahead.
Hi, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Fantastic. So my name's Alyssa Miller. I'm here to state my support for a DEI commission to be formed here in Lake Stevens as opposed to an advisory council. I've lived in Lake Stevens since 2002, and I feel like commissions have always worked really well in Lake Stevens and been effective at creating changes, progress, and lasting relationships with both the city and the community. I feel like a commission would be more meaningful and an intentional investment into our city's future and the community that it serves, that 25% that people keep referencing. I love Lake Stevens, and I want everyone to love Lake Stevens and feel welcome here. With the commission, there's an opportunity to host recurring events and build on the progress year after year. When you're setting up programs for DEI, a commission with transparency and clear guidelines is super important in making sure that the progress continues, regardless of who's on city council or who holds the position of mayor. I think an advisory council isn't the way to go, because I just think that there's a lot of work that goes into this. And I think that a lot of people who think they've done the work maybe haven't done as much work as they think. And I feel like we have a lot of the same types of lived experiences very well represented within our community. And I'd like to hear more from people with other lived experiences, because I think that our differences are what make us an incredible community. And I think that it's important to embrace and celebrate those. And I think a commission could give us so many opportunities to do that. That's all for me.
All right, Alyssa, thank you very much. Lindsay.
Thank you for giving.
Let's go with Lindsay. And Lindsay, before you start, can we bring in Brian Larson, Tori Horseman, and Joseph Jensen, please? Lindsay, you have the floor.
Hi, thanks, Mayor. I'm Lindsay, and I'm a small business owner here in Lake Stevens, and my husband is a health provider. And excuse me, I also am on the executive board for Lake Stevens Allies for BIPOC, but care deeply about social justice issues for all marginalized groups. And after doing all the research I have with this group in the past year, I really think the City Commission for Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Access is the way to go for our city. Being new to this work, having a structured commission with transparency and measures to keep progress accountable is really important for our growth in our city. And I really want to echo what Stephanie said as well, which is a council under your purview, Mayor, makes complete sense. I just think that can't negate the need for a structured city commission as well. And I'm just really excited to have the opportunity to see democracy kind of at hand apply to this commission and get involved and see the council vote on this so that the community voice is being heard. And like Alyssa said, it's been a year since we've been, or maybe it was Elizabeth, that we've been trying to push for this. And so now's the time. And I fully support the commission, and I hope you do too. Thanks.
Thank you, Lindsay. Appreciate it. Tori, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Gailey. First, I want to stop and make a shout out for Kim Daughtry's background. I love it. So I stand tonight in favor of a Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Access Commission. A commission creates an independent body, which creates a place at the table for all to be heard. Oh, I forgot to say, City of Lake Stevens resident. I apologize. An advisory council created by the mayor gives less opportunity for public involvement and oversight. And this is a public issue, and it is about our underserved population. So we can't really allow it to be administered behind closed doors by the current powers that be, no matter who they might be. So at the time. So to me, a commission is the way for us to make a seat at the table for the people that we're not hearing from now. And I think that's very important. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tori. And Brian Larson.
Thank you, Mayor Gailey, and thank you all for your efforts. Is greatly appreciated. I'll be very short. Again, Brian Larson, 202 North Davies Road. I've been a Lake Stevens resident for nearly a decade, currently, and have been an active coach of our city's youth and witnessed a tremendous amount of change in the city over this last decade. Further, as a Boeing engineer, I've witnessed a sweeping change with respect to social responsibility over the past year. I am in full support of the DEIA Commission. Why not present our city as one of acceptance, inclusion, and equality as we continue to grow and evolve? Let's lean into equality, transparency, and longevity and make our city the very best it can be. I really appreciate your time tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Appreciate it. And Joseph Jensen.
Thank you. My name is Joseph Jensen. I live on 101st Avenue Northeast here in Lake Stevens. I'm going to comment about why I believe a DEIAC is so important. I've struggled today to come up with the words that I want to put into this message and mark a full year since George Floyd was murdered in Minneapolis. It's not because it's a difficult topic or that I don't have any thoughts about him. I just don't think words are enough. Mr. Floyd isn't a martyr. He never wanted to die. He was a father and then wanted to see his little girl grow into a woman. Mr. Floyd isn't a symbol. He wasn't looking for attention for himself or a cause. He didn't seek out the men who crushed the life out of him or create the conflict. It found him. He isn't a hero. He didn't charge into a burning building or step in front of a gunman. Mr. Floyd was just one match snuffed out too soon, and that has lit a lamp that now shines on our country and exposes dark places that we've ignored for too long. Things that don't apply to people like me or many other white-skinned people. I'm not going to even pretend that I know what these things are. I have a lot of things still to learn about the struggles that my countrymen and women face. A commission like this is a critical tool in a society that will hear these voices and give them unfiltered and effective visibility in our system. What Mr. Floyd was, one of the many things that he was, is enough. Time ran out on our old ways, and it took 8 minutes and 46 seconds for us to finally get the message that was 401 years too late. Our community and every community needs to have a conduit to see and hear minority voices. A DEIA commission is one of the best tools that we have to make sure we remember that. Thank you.
Thank you, Joseph. And if we could bring in Carrie, Tom Dowd, and Helen. And let's go with Carrie.
Hi, good evening, Council. Good evening, Mayor. My name is Carrie Johnson. I know my voice is probably a bit tiring to you, but the words that I say now are no less important than when they were previous times I've spoken with you in favor of a DEIA commission. I want to talk about privilege. Privilege is something I have time to organize with my fellow allies for BIPOC. It is a privilege to come here and speak tonight, even though I know my voice may not matter to you. I have economic privilege, and I wasn't always so fortunate for that. I have lived for too long with the wool over my eyes, thinking that this wasn't my fight, but I was wrong. The cause of justice is everyone's fight. The cause of making sure our commissions, our councils, and city structures are reflective of the diversity of our town and inclusive is everyone's fight. Making sure everyone has equitable access to our city's leaders, to our city's services, and breaking down barriers that might impede someone in access is everyone's fight, and it should be yours too. DEIA work is not a buzzword that corporations throw around to help make their brand more woke. It is a fundamental change from the old ways that not only left people out, but purposefully excluded individuals from the table where decisions were made. You could choose to ignore me. You may say that what's the difference? Aren't you moving forward? You may find the mayor's advisory council is good enough, but it fundamentally lacks the one thing that a commission has: transparency. Without transparency, there is no trust. And trust is not something that just happens. You have to work at it. You have to show us through your actions that trust is warranted. Choose a commission. Let transparency of the system build the trust. Let's do the work meaningfully as a commission because it's the right thing to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Carrie. And Tom Dowd.
Can you hear me okay?
We got you. Go ahead. You have the floor.
Hi.
And you muted yourself.
I'm actually the father, Tom Dowd. I'm the father of Lindsay Price, who just spoke a few minutes ago. I have grandchildren, obviously, in the area of Lake Stevens. I also have another granddaughter who is half Hispanic. And I have another granddaughter who's partially Hispanic and partially Native American. So I have a lot of, if you would say, interest in making sure that communities, I live in Mukilteo, so not too far from Lake Stevens, but I have, my grandchildren are very affected by what's going on in the world right now. And a lot of people have made some great comments here. I just want to maybe touch on this idea of organizations that really succeed. And I've had successful as an executive level about 35 years. I just retired as a marketing executive. And I've been able to travel the world and see a lot of different organizations, both in business, both in community advocacy, in healthcare, many different areas. And the one thing that they have in common is being accountable, and to make sure that accountability and trust is built with their constituency, they use outside auditing, and to make sure that they have somebody else other than those directly associated with those who are administering a given project or program. They make sure somebody else outside of that, whether it's accounting, if it's quality processes, whatever it might be, they have an outside organization take a look at that to make sure that it's staying true to the course, staying true to the ideals, and really still staying true to the trust that the constituency is either invested in, either with their vote or with their money. And so I would just strongly urge the community here to really open up to the idea of a DEIA commission rather than just an appointed advisory board or something like that, but a commission that could come in and really advise from the community's perspective to the council about what's going on in the city. It's going to, it's affecting my family directly and my grandkids. And I just urge you to do that. We could be so much more than some of the worst of our society right now. So that's all I'd like to say. Thank you.
All right, Tom, thank you. And let's bring in Jessica Wadhams.
Sorry, this is Helen Taylor. I'm still in the room. Is it?
Yeah, Helen, I've got you. Give me 1 second.
Okay, thanks.
For efficiency's sake, okay? Jessica Wadhams, and then Draw for Change. Draw for Change, when we bring you in, we're gonna need your name and address and not just a pseudonym there.
Yeah, totally. Sorry, I logged in the wrong Zoom account. So my name is Doug, and my address is 212 North Bees Road. What was that?
1 second. We got Helen. We got people in front of you. We're just bringing you in.
Oh, okay.
Give me a second. Helen, go ahead.
Hi, thank you, everyone. This is Helen Taylor. I live on near Vernon and Lundeen Roads. I just want to call and express again my support for a DEIA commission and not an advisory board. And as a woman and a person of color who has now logged over 50 interactions with the city council, including you, Mayor Gailey, on issues related that, fundamentally affect me and my family on a very personal level, and haven't gotten a lot of the response that I had hoped for. I just want to reemphasize what Carrie was saying about the need to build trust in a meaningful way. And I also want to say on a personal level that after a year of asking for change, of asking for action from the city council, it's very, very difficult to continue coming back and continue asking the council and the government to recognize the humanity of myself and other people of color in this city, to listen to what we're asking for in a DEIA commission, and to, we have been very clear about our request, and it's very difficult to keep being told that we do not know what we want or need for ourselves. So I'm asking the members of the city council and people on this call to see my humanity, to see the humanity of others in this community who are marginalized, and to please establish a DEIA commission. I'm also going to split the time with my husband, who is on as well.
I'm Jesse Taylor. I obviously live at the same place as my wife, Helen, near Lundeen and Vernon. And as a white male in the community who has a family that is mixed, has children who will be growing up as people who will be seen as people of color in this community, I also strongly support having a DEIA commission rather than an advisory council. And also as a local healthcare provider, just as another personal note, having had patients recently explaining how they've been removing their children from Lake Stevens schools because of the lack of diversity. I don't want to be raising my kids in a place where they feel like they're the only outsiders. And if we're having people leaving our school districts because they don't feel like it's a safe place for their kids, then we know that it cannot be a safe community for other people as they continue to go through our school systems and become adults and functioning members of the society. So I strongly support this.
Thank you. So let's go with Jessica Wadhams. Go ahead.
Hi, thank you. So Jessica Wadhams here. Obviously, you guys have heard my voice many times. And as a fellow co-founder of the Lake Stevens Allies for BIPOC, it's no shock that I am in support of a DEIA commission. I think that one thing that is interesting is that our group has followed through with everything that you have asked for, beyond even in some circumstances. And yet we are still met with a questioning eye and a concern. And at what point are you going to put BIPOC voices, LGBTQ plus voices, people from the disabled communities' voices at the top to listen to? We could not have laid this out any more clearly for you. We could not have done any more hard work than we've done. I, at this point, have to resort to that there's just got to be a fear or a complete lack of want. And I don't want to believe that of you guys, but that's all I'm left with at this point, and it's extremely frustrating. I want to live in a city where my elected officials are making decisions for the entire community of Lake Stevens. I want to have a mayor who wants to stop and listen to those voices and do what makes sense for their communities. I want a city council that wants those voices to lead the work. And if you can't make that happen at this point, beyond everything that we have laid at your feet, I think the question now is why? That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Jessica. And I think it was Doug. Draw for change.
Yep. Sorry about that. I just heard my name and started talking. So yeah, my name is Doug. I am at 212 North Davies Road, Unit A, Lake Stevens, Washington. And to second what Jessica said, that's kind of my main question for tonight as well. First off, I am fully in support of a DEIA city advisory board, city council advisory board. I think it makes a lot of sense because you want the people that are passionate about inclusivity and those who live through the issues that we're discussing to be the main voice and bringer of change when it comes to this type of work. And the fact that you have so many people passionate and willing to be a part of this council, people that are willing to donate their time, people that are willing to share their ideas and speak up for members of their community, there's no downside to getting this up and running, especially when you have so much passion and ideas and just awesome people willing to step in and help you do this. This is going to last longer than any city council member will. This will last longer than any elected term member will. And that's why this is so important, is because this work that they start here is going to continue. And that's exactly what we need. We don't need a council that's going to be in the background meeting where it can't be accountable to the rest of the city. We need to have a council where it's going to last. It's going to promote the voices that need to be heard when we're having this talks. And we need to have this group happen sooner rather than later, because waiting a year is mind-boggling to me when you've got so much support and so many people waiting to make this happen. Thank you for your time. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Doug. Let's bring in, I think it's JL, Paul Hansen, and Karina T. JL, go ahead. JL?
Yes, that's me. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you. Go ahead. You have the floor.
Yes, I've been sitting here watching, and I'm so encouraged by all the people coming forward. I've been trying to figure out what can I say that would appeal to you lovely people that I'm looking at your faces and know that you have partners and children and people you care about in your life. I'm a registered voter in Lake Stevens. I lived here for almost a decade in Cavalier Ridge. My great-great-grandparents were founding members of Lake Stevens. I am a biracial family. I have a 3.5-year-old half Black son that I cannot let him carry a squirt gun around because of our current climate. And having an advisory council is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. I'm in favor of the DEIAC, and I have never been more afraid for my safety and my child's safety and my husband's safety ever before in my life than I am now, with the presence of white nationalism and stuff being done behind doors that I don't have privy to. What I desire is for a commission that is going to be representative of my family and of other families like ourselves. We are desperately searching for other families like ourselves to feel safe in this environment. I can't even go do porch pickups or send my husband to do a porch pickup anymore because of the hate that's being spewed on people's own properties. I would like to have somebody standing up for us. Honestly, I'm afraid to show my name and face on here for fear of retaliation, because I have friends that have been retaliated against by using their voice in here, right here in Lake Stevens. So what I'm asking for is for us to move forward like everybody else is asking. I know that some of you guys have your own beliefs, your own background, your own desires. But brown people are here, LGBTQ are here, disability people are here, people with disabilities. We need to be represented, and we need to
All
be.
right, JL, over your 2 minutes and you're cutting out.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, JL.
Thank you.
I got Paul Hansen.
Hi, this is actually Nina and Paul Hansen together. We're both going to be speaking to you today. Hi, Mayor Haley, and thank you, City Council. I just want to quickly introduce myself. I'm a mom of 2 young kids, and I'm an educator in my professional background. My husband, Paul, works for Boeing, and we've been living in Snohomish County for quite a few years, but moved out to Lake Stevens just last year. And we chose Lake Stevens because we were told that Lake Stevens would be a welcoming community, an inclusive community. And the first week we moved in, I was at a store, and just outside the store, we ran into 2 white supremacists with Nazi symbols on their bodies. And I can't tell you how scary that was as a person of color to walk around with my kids in a city that I thought was going to be completely welcoming to me. Now, I know that those incidences aren't happening in terms of my story every day, but that's partly because we're in a pandemic and I'm at home. But I want to speak to you as a daughter of immigrants who came to the US hoping for a better future. And I love Lake Stevens a lot. I've grown to meet a lot of people here despite the pandemic. I've grown to work with a lot of people in this city. And I just want to say a couple of things. Doing diversity as a diverse educator, and having done this for over 10 years, doing diversity without diversity is not diversity, okay? BIPOC and white folks, we're together in this. My husband and I, my husband's white. I'm a Korean American, biracial Japanese American as well. We have found ways to work together to do good justice work for our family because we have mixed kids. So I want to emphasize that a DEIA commission would build the trust between people of color like myself and white people in the city, right? Because trust isn't just given, it has to be worked for, it has to be earned. And then we also say that I think we should lead with faith and with purpose and not with fear. Whenever it comes to any organizing done by the community or by city council, people always bow to fear. I urge the city council not to bow to fear of the unknown. Go and walk in faith. And I speak this as a person of faith. I believe in Jesus Christ, and I believe that he calls people of faith as well, which I'm assuming some of you are, to do good justice work. So that's what I wanted to share. Thank you.
Thank you. And we have Amy Sal.
I'm also a mom. I honestly supposed to be putting my kids to bed.
Amy, you're really faint. We really got you.
Okay, let me turn off my headset and see if that helps.
Yeah.
Is that better?
That's better.
Okay. My name is Amy Tao. I'm also a mom. And honestly, I need to be putting my kids to bed right now, but I believed it was important enough to take the time to put in my comment in support of the DEIA Commission. And really that transparency of the commission as opposed to the council is just going to be so important to drive community trust. I don't think I'm telling anyone anything new to say that we are in very polarized times, and trust and community is hard to build right now. And the commission is really your best tool moving forward to build trust and engagement with your community. Thank you for the time.
Thank you, Amy. Thanks for being a mom. And Stephanie, your hand's up, but you've already spoken, but I do have Alex Winning. I'm not getting that name right, but Alex, go ahead. You have the floor.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's good to see you. I am also voting in support or vouch my support for the DEIA Commission. My wife was on earlier, and I just think it's necessary as a community to come together and support those of color. Sorry, getting emotional, but as my oldest son's African-American, and he deserves to have the right to grow in a community and do the things I got to do as a kid. And I think this is one step into preparing that for him moving forward. So I'm in full support. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Alex. All right, we also have a Galaxy S9 Plus. Galaxy S9 Plus, if you could give us your earthly name and your address here on Earth, that would be great. Go ahead. We are not hearing you, Galaxy S9 Plus. Okay, if we could go ahead and move whoever that is back up to as a panelist. And Kelly, do you have that?
Yeah, let me, I'm just working on getting that over. I do want to remind callers that are on right now that you can do *9 to raise your hand by phone. If you didn't already know that, so. Looks like we have one more Brad Johnson.
We didn't have a Brad Johnson earlier? No, no, wrong. Okay, so let's go Brad Johnson and number ending in 3451. Brad, go ahead and unmute and you have the floor.
Unmuted. My apologies. Brad Johnson, common name. No, I was not called on earlier. Okay. Thank you for the time to speak here. I am also calling in to show my support for DEIA Commission. I think the community is speaking. There's been a lot of hurt over the last year. There's been a lot of misunderstanding over the last year, but there's also been a lot of hope and a lot of people are willing to do the work, and they're coming to the council ready to do the work, ready to listen, ready to be involved. And I strongly support these people. And I am really looking forward to what they can do in this community. Thank you. That's all for me.
Thank you, Brad. And number ending in 3451, if you could give us your name and address, please, and you have the floor.
This is Joyce Copley. Can you hear me?
We've got you, Joyce. Go ahead.
Hi, Mayor. I'm in Hawaii, actually. But this was important. Oh, my address is 9513 28th Street Northeast. I lived in Lake Stevens for a number of years, and I'm not planning on going anywhere. I am an African-American woman, and I plan on making sure that when my children, my grandchildren, and people who come to visit me there in Lake Stevens are welcome. It's unfortunate we have to go to these extremes to speak up for the lives of the people that are maybe less in numbers. And before I get off this call, I want to thank each and every one of you for speaking up for people that look like me, because I want you to know I appreciate it. And no matter what the outcome is, I'm going to push for a commission because it needs to be done. Because not only does it give the voice of the people in the city, it gives the voice to everybody who have spoke here tonight. And that's what you call unity. And that's what we need in Lake Stevens. It is time to move the city forward. Now, I like to ask the council to really evaluate the voices of everybody that's been heard here and listen, because that's what you're hired to do. And that's what we need to do. The city can be strong if the voices are heard. So let's hear these voices. Let's pass this commission. Let's get this city together so we can move forward in a positive way. So when issues and circumstances and situations come up, you can look to somebody like me that can give you a long history and a background of how to handle it. Otherwise, it will just simply be handled wrong because the concern and the compassion is just not there. But I'm a fighter. I don't give up because this is what we do, because I'm a taxpayer and a resident, and I have every right to speak. Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you, Joyce. Enjoy Hawaii.
So,
appreciate it. And looks like 9209. If you want to unmute, say your name and address, and you can have the floor. You're going to need to unmute. There you go.
Okay, there we go. Sorry about that.
Gotcha.
Technical difficulties. My name is Trevor Wadham, and I've been part of a Lake Stevens community for going on 8 years now. And I've been listening to you. And I just want to say that they have gone above and beyond, put in so many hours to help you guys get this DEI commission going. I just can't see any reason why you would not want to move forward with this. It's not only for for us now, but for our children as well. This is something that's going to impact them for the rest of our lives. So anyways, I just had to get frustrated about this stuff because my wife's voice has been heard several times, and we've got to get cameras on our house because we receive, threatening calls just because we're standing out and saying like, we don't believe that what's going on is right and we want to make a change. And for that, we're being threatened. So I get kind of frustrated with this whole thing, but that's all I had to say.
Thank you. So with that, I don't see any other hands up, and we will go ahead and move from citizens' comments to council business. Council President Daughtry.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you to everybody that spoke. I appreciate you, each and every one of you. Let's go ahead and start with Councilmember Frederick.
Thank you, Councilmember Daughtry. I actually only have one thing today, and it involves the COVID vaccine. And I want to thank everyone in the community that has gone out and gotten vaccinated or is considering it. I will share that Lake Stevens, among cities in Snohomish County, is actually tied for the highest rate of vaccination with a few other cities. Both of which are larger than us. So great job to all of our residents here in Lake Stevens. That's it.
Okay, thank you, Councilmember Frederick. Councilmember Peter Sagan.
Thank you, Councilmember Daughtry. A couple of things here. I would like to thank Chief Dyer and his staff. About 10 days ago, our neighborhood had an incident with a belligerent person, I guess is a nice way to put it. And come to find out that the patrol officer had dealt with this person 2 or 3 times earlier in the day. In observing what took place, between that officer and this individual, I just want to compliment Chief Dyer and his staff because the professionalism, the patience, and the humanity that this officer displayed, I don't know how he does it. This person was very difficult to deal with, and myself and our neighbors were very concerned about the situation, and the police officer handled it very professionally. So shout out to the police department. Thanks to Councilmember Daughtry and the mayor, we were able to take care of some graffiti this last weekend that seems to plague our city on occasions, and I appreciate their help in taking care of that. And then also the last thing, kind of to jump on to Councilmember Frederick's comments, I hope in the very near future that we can get back to in-person council meetings. I haven't seen it be a topic of discussion. I would like to have it as a topic of discussion coming up here very shortly. I think it's time to get back to doing business as usual. As Councilmember Frederick indicated, we have a number of folks that are vaccinated. We are heading towards the level of being safe, and certainly appears that things are opening up. So I think we need to get on board and start marching down that road. So hopefully we can get that on future discussion here shortly. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Peter Sagan. Councilmember Jorstad.
I will go ahead and use my time to read the Pride Proclamation at the end of council business.
Okay, thank you. And Councilmember Dickinson.
Yes. Good thinking, Councilmember Peters Hagen. I am certainly ready. As we reach the 1-year anniversary of the unjust death of George Floyd in Minneapolis, I ask that we think of the lessons we have learned since then and the realities we have had to face regarding social and racial justice in this country. It has certainly been a difficult year for many reasons, many reasons. I ask that we give Mr. Floyd a moment of silence tonight with the hope that his death will not have been in vain. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Dickinson. Councilmember Ewing.
I just want to thank the Rustic Cork and their staff and friends for their willingness to serve our community. They've adopted one of our parks and have provided service there. Big advocate for people joining in and helping out in our city where they can. And thank you to Jill Meese, our parks person, who is facilitating that effort for people who want to adopt a portion of the community, road, sidewalks, or whatever. Like to get us to where we are more like Everett, and having a robust volunteer group that helps with that effort in the city. Also want to thank Chief Dyer and his staff for their response to the homicide yesterday. They were on scene within a minute and were able to apprehend the suspect very quickly. So thank you, Chief Dyer and your staff. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Let's see, what do I have? Oh, I'm trying to read my mission or my notes. We are getting ready to have a retreat coming here in either August or September. I wanted to kind of poll the councils that are here about when they would want to do that, either late August or early September. We are going to be going into a little bit of a recess starting here in July for, I think, 6 weeks. Is that what we usually do? 6 weeks? I don't remember. Anybody else? Where's Marcus when I need him? So I think we're going to have at least 6 weeks. So we're going to go into a recess and then come back out and into a retreat. So I'm interested in knowing about when, first off, I don't want to do a retreat when one of us has decided to go on vacation at that time. So the last part of August might be the wrong time to do it. If anybody's planning a vacation or whatever, just know that I don't think I've ever taken a vacation, so it's not my problem. So I'm just looking for some input from the council on when they might want to retreat.
So Kim, so is this going to be in person? Is this going to be remote? And what's the expected length and location of this retreat?
Well, I believe it's going to be in person. At least we're going to try that. By then, I think we're going to be clear. And I also think that we'll probably be back into in-person sessions by then. Councilmember Peter Sagan, I'm hoping that's what's going to happen. They are in discussions about that at the city. So, and many cities around us for that matter. I've been in some discussions with Community Transit and others about that. The length of time, I think, is, what were we talking about, a day and a half this time?
It's up to the council. Usually the fall one is a half a day or
half a day or a day. Yeah.
It might be good to do some, maybe go a little longer, do some team building as well.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. So there's several topics that we want to talk about. Some of them are really important to the community, of course. And we'll be putting that out here soon, so that I'd like to take topics from each and every one of you if you have something you want to bring up to a retreat. So I think we call it let's just call it a day for now and see how the agenda pans out. So we don't need to answer the question tonight. You can email me. Actually, you can email Kelly your desires on about what week or so in either late of August or early September or others, and then Kelly can get that information to me. Please do not email me that. That would be a chain. That would be a chain meeting. We don't need to do that. So that's about all I have on that.
Hey, Kim, if we could just have Kelly send out an email request to all of us, and then we can reply individually, that might be helpful. So those details are on the email.
Let me get a hold of Kelly on that then. Hey, Kelly, could you please send out a request to the council members for picking a date for a retreat?
Absolutely. Maybe we can come up with some dates to choose from.
Okay. Thank you, Kelly. Yep. So Steve, I just talked to Kelly, and she's decided she'll send out an email here to try to get some dates from us to get that taken care of. And so much for the comic relief. So thanks, Mary. What else was I going to say? Gary, thanks for the graffiti comments. I kind of had fun out there with you this weekend and on Sunday morning with you and the mayor trying to take care of the graffiti. I'd like to talk to the people that are in the gallery and listening to us about the graffiti. I don't actually understand what's happening. I don't know why we have a couple of angry young persons out there or whatever that think that they can deface our city. But I would ask people that if they see something that they call it in and actually just stop the person from doing it without endangering yourself. Because I have no idea where these people's minds are. But it's infuriating to go around our city, which we're trying to beautify right now, and seeing this and it costs us money if we have the public works do it. It just looks terrible, and there's no reason for it. So if anybody out there sees this stuff happening, just give the police a call, tell them where it's happening at, and let's try to get rid of this out of our community. And I realize it might not even be anybody from our community. I realize that some of the same graffiti is over in Everett and in those kinds of places. So I understand that, but we need to have the citizens help us catch this bunch of people or one person or whatever it is. I just really don't want to spend my Sunday mornings out taking care of graffiti, but I will do it as long as I need to. Other than that, Mr. Mayor, I don't think I have anything else.
I think we've got Angie.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we're to the council. Oh, Pride. Okay. Angie, please go ahead and take care of what you have given to the council.
Thank you. I appreciate it. This is a little personal for me, so I'm going to say a few words before I dive into the proclamation. As a young person growing up in a really small Oregon town, I felt really confused by my queerness. There was no LGBTQ community for me to see or to learn from, as they also felt that they needed to hide who they were. It was a different time. And while we have made great strides in our country, acknowledging, accepting, and celebrating the spectrum of sexual orientation and gender expression of our family, friends, and neighbors, we still have work to do. This proclamation is dedicated to each and every one of you, citizens of Lake Stevens, who see themselves in these words. We see you and we celebrate you. This is a proclamation of the Mayor and City Council of the City of Lake Stevens, celebrating our lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer questioning, intersex, asexual, ally, and two-spirit community, or LGBTQ plus community, by declaring the month of June Pride Month, affirming that LGBTQ plus rights are human rights. Whereas the City of Lake Stevens government is committed to celebrating the diversity of our growing city. And whereas the month of June is celebrated throughout our nation, commemorating the Stonewall Uprising that occurred June 28, 1969, in opposition to police harassment, marking the beginning of the LGBTQ plus rights movement. And whereas on June 26, 2015, the Supreme Court granted same-sex individuals the right to marry in Obergefell versus Hodges decision, recognizing that the sanctity of marriage is the right of all to pursue, regardless of sexual orientation. And whereas despite national progress, the LGBTQ plus community continues to face discrimination, harassment, disparity in healthcare, housing, and employment, and the denial of basic human rights. And whereas the LGBTQ plus community continues to be vulnerable to violence, homelessness, and death, as the CDC indicates, 1/3 of LGB youth attempted suicide last year, compared to 6% of their heterosexual peers. And the UCLA Williams Institute indicates sexual minority adults are twice as likely as the general population to have experienced homelessness in their lifetime. And whereas members of the LGBTQ population reside throughout our city, are employed by our city, are our neighbors, our teachers, our first responders, our business owners, our youth, our friends, and our family. And these community members deserve to live without fear of discrimination, prejudice, or violence. And whereas the City of Lake Stevens strives to be an employer who is committed to creating an environment that is inclusive and equitable and free from discrimination and harassment, and desires opportunities to celebrate the growing diversity in our city. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Mayor and City Council of the City of Lake Stevens hereby declare June 2021 as LGBTQ plus Pride Month and commit to engaging in action that increases the safety, security, and freedom of each of their LGBTQ plus citizens. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Jorstad. And that takes us to Mayor's business.
All right, thank you, Councilmember Jorstad. That was great. It was good to work with you on that, and glad we found a good proclamation to get out there for our community. I'd like to echo a couple of things. The graffiti, if anybody's bored on a Sunday morning, you got a little graffiti out there, come hang out with a couple council members and clean up graffiti. It's actually kind of fun. It resembled a great government job as we all had 3 vehicles running around doing our thing. So it was fun. But we do need to get a handle on it, and I'd appreciate our citizens' help in finding and being able to stop graffiti within our city. I want to express appreciation to our police department as well for their professionalism in the response to our homicide yesterday. Having been a responder to many homicides, I recognize the professionalism that I saw on scene and by our officers, as well as assisting agencies. And it was great to see. And I knew that there was no issues at all that I needed to deal with because our police department was doing a great job and a professional job. If you haven't had a chance to take a look at North Cove Park, we're really close. opening up that playground. It looks really cool with the turf on it. Looks clean. Let's keep it that way. But take a look at it. Looks great. It'll be a great opportunity for our kids to have another place to play in our city. I want to give I wanted to give a special thank you to the staff. I am privileged to be able to work with our staff every day. We run a lean city hall, lean shop here in Lake Stevens, and we get so much done, and it's really due to the staff and their commitment to working hard for the citizens of our city, and just making sure they have a can-do attitude. And I just want to give some public appreciation to them and let them know that I'm privileged to be able to work with them. Okay, so with that, let's get into, I moved the Community Advisory Council issue up into the mayor's business, which is where it was supposed to be. And I acknowledge all the comments that, and I appreciate all the comments that we've had tonight on this discussion that we've been having over the past year. And it's been a very good discussion, and it's been a discussion that we've needed as a small city that's growing to recognize the diversity of our community and the assets of our diversity within our community. During this time, I've had the opportunity to discuss either a DEIA commission or a mayor's advisory council option or other options that were out there. I've had those discussions with folks both within the allies of BIPOC. I've also had that discussion with other city leaders and businessmen or business folks and other citizens who've contacted me with their own concerns on diversity and how the city should respond to the diversity of our city. The other thing I've done is I've had discussions with my fellow mayors who have enacted both commissions and councils, and seen their experiences and how it's impacted their cities, as well as the success of those commissions and councils. So with those things said, one of the things that I looked at was there was a big deciding factor for me was success. And when I saw success, I saw it in Marysville, and I saw success in Everett, both of which have advisory councils. The Allies of BIPOC, in fact, brought in John Naring, Mayor John Naring of Marysville, who has an advisory council. And that advisory council is successful. It's still, he's run that for years. And Cassie Franklin, Mayor of Everett, has as well run an advisory council through one of her police captains and one of her HR directors. So I saw good success within those advisory councils. And one of the things I want to make sure in our next step forward in this area is that we create an organization that is successful and that does last. And for me, that's going to be a community advisory council. I see this council as advising and assisting the city on strategies and policies to improve outcomes for all. And additionally, I see this council leading our community in celebrating diversity as an important asset to our welcoming city. There's additional details on the council in the advisory council within the packet, and there as well within the agenda that citizens can take a look at. So I will be forming this community advisory council over the next few weeks. Or next week, we'll be putting out a call for applications for this council, and it'll be open for a few weeks. After those applications are brought in, I'll be forming a committee with staff as well as some citizens to review the applications and then appoint folks to the council. I know initially the way forward after appointing the council members, the way forward is to do some initial meetings with the council, because I think that there needs to be some groundwork laid, some base laid, and discussing about where the city is, how the city runs, where the city is going, comprehensive plan sort of discussions. And then after that base is laid, I think it would be a great idea to have the council create their work plan and see where they want to go with this advisory council. The idea of transparency continued to come up from people's comments, and I appreciate that. I'm not sure why there's a thought that an advisory council is less transparent than a commission. A commission is bound by the Open Meetings Act. The members of a commission would not be able to get together in a quorum outside of the commission. They would be bound by so many more factors than a council. When I see this council as a meeting with the council members that can be attended by citizens of our community. I see it, if not put up live on YouTube, put onto our YouTube channel as a meeting. So I'm not sure that where the transparency, lack of transparency comes in. I think I've been very transparent throughout being the mayor and open to listening to anybody and meeting with anybody. So I'm not sure how that theme has gotten out there, that this would not be a transparent organization. So, so just so you know, those things would be part of the council, which is open meetings, council members who would not be adherent to the Opens Meeting Act, who could meet together to help plan things for the city and work through issues they want to work through. So with that, I would like the council to know that I'm going to set up this community advisory council, and I would ask that the council support this advisory council so that it is successful, as I think that it needs the council support to move forward. And that is all I have for mayor's business.
Mayor Gailey, can I ask just a quick question?
You bet.
You see a role for city council members in this advisory council?
Absolutely. I know in the packet I said 10 members. I think that that's not a good number. I think that it's going to need to be more. And I would love to have two council, at least, so we don't create a quorum issue with that. Maybe at least two council members on the council. Absolutely.
I would like to volunteer to be a part of that.
Surprise. I'd love to have you on it.
Would the council members adhere to the same procedure as the community members as far as applying for it, or are you just looking to appoint two council members or ask two council members to participate?
You know, the rules are an application, so let's do an application. That'll be fun.
And who, I'm reading this as you're talking here, who would review the applications?
Well, I'm gonna have myself. I'm gonna do a staff member, and then I could take a council member, and then I wanted to get a couple members of the community in on that application process as well.
Sean just raised his hand to be the council member on that committee.
Okay. That's perfect.
I'll raise both of them.
All three arms. Good job, Sean.
If the council is okay with either applications, or just let me know if you're interested on being on the council, and we can figure that out.
Hey, Mayor, I would, if I can be so arrogant as to suggest this, that we forego an application for the council members. I would support Angie and Sean being a part of that. And if there was an additional person, we could make 3 so we didn't have a quorum, or if you want to leave it at 2, that's totally your call.
Okay, you bet. If you feel you want to be on it, let me know.
I volunteer to review applications.
Great, Sean.
For clarity.
Okay. Mary, go ahead.
I would very much like to be part of that.
All right, looks like we've got 3 members. Now we bumped up council members. I like
So wait a minute, I heard 2 different things there. One is I heard Sean said he would be on the committee to pick the council, but I don't think he said he'd be on the council. Is that correct?
Is correct.
Okay, so you're down to 2 members on the council, because I think Mary is saying she wants to be on the council.
Right.
And then Angie is going to be on the council. Now, am I correct in all that?
Yes, and I would make a suggestion that it be no more than 2, based on my experience with the Veterans Commission. Before I was an elected official on the Veterans Commission, I was a citizen member of the Veterans Commission, and it becomes quite intimidating to have a considerable number of elected officials there. Without any intent from any of the council members there, they can very easily steer the meeting down a course that may not necessarily reflect the voices of everybody else that are participating.
Good to hear. Is there any other council members? Gary, would you want to be on this?
Between the sewer district and things like that, I think my plate's kind of full. And the water transmission line negotiations that don't seem to go anywhere. But I guess Steve had mentioned, Councilmember Ewan had mentioned in the past that he had participated in some of these groups, I guess, as you might want to. I don't know.
Yeah.
If I was asked, I'd be happy to serve on it, but I think my plate's kind of full right at the moment. So.
Yeah, and I'd be happy to serve too, Mayor. Let's look and see where we go with the number of people that are on it. To Sean's point, if we have 10 members and then 3 of those people are council members, I agree with Sean's perspective that it could unduly influence. We hope is, even though the council members are citizens of our community, they have kind of a dual role. And I note that, like, when I sit in on planning commission and other commissions, that I am silent unless I'm comment is direct. I'm directed for comment, and so I'd want to better understand that dynamic. So I would hate to unduly influence the good work that our citizens are going to do.
Okay. Okay, perfect. Then what I would ask the city council members is to think of folks within our community. I obviously don't know everybody in our community who might be very good candidates for this council, and ask them to apply so that we can get a good pool of folks to have a good diverse council, advisory council. With that, that is all I have. And there are no city department reports.
Hey, Mayor, can I interrupt you really quick? A kind of clarification. So one of the things I noticed in the application for persons who are mentally proficient in the English language, and I think those people are underrepresented and may not have a full voice. And so I'm wondering what the resources would be for a translator for those people that wish to participate in that process. I just don't know what that would look like.
And we can figure that out. I'm not sure either, Steve. It's a great question. We obviously want to be able to hear from all facets of our society. So if we have an applicant that we need to figure out some sort of language concession to, well, let's deal with it at that point. But make sure if we're reaching out to people in those communities, make sure that they're not shying away from putting in an application, because we'll figure that out. Okay, so with that, there's no department reports, and we'll move to the consent agenda. And remember that we moved item G to an action item. So with that, can I get a motion for the consent agenda?
So moved.
Seconded.
I've got a motion and a second to pass the consent agenda. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? All right, so with that, let's go ahead and do the SR9 South Lake Stevens Roundabout Agreement with WASDOT. Eric.
I'm actually going to take that, Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
This is the agreement that we initially had with WashDOT. The dollar amount was in the $4 million range. It has changed several times since then. WashDOT and the City of Lake Stevens have done a great job of bringing that cost down to right around $8 million and not to exceed 8.5, which is the top that we can go. And we hope not to go to that 8.5. 8 is our goal to get that roundabout made. The language in there has gone through the city attorney's office. Costco is also in support of that language, and we just ask that council support that this evening.
Council or City Administrator Brazel, there was a number of updates that were sent out by Kelly. Are we? I guess could you maybe just run through those quickly? What those changes were? Because there was 3 or 4 different.
Especially the last one that came in late this afternoon. If you could highlight that one, that would be especially appreciated.
Certainly, the dollar amount changed, and we originally had 8 million in there, and WashDOT came with an exact figure that was just under 8 million. And then there's also section 5 that was added, and that language was originally proposed and went back and forth, and our attorney was involved in that, and WashDOT threw it back into the mix late this afternoon, and it is a language that we all agreed upon, and it addresses, should the bids come in higher than expected, how that will be handled.
By signing this agreement or giving the mayor the authorization to sign this agreement, will this move the Costco project forward?
Yes, it will. They plan to start in the next 2 weeks.
So they're kind of waiting on us, I guess, so to speak.
That's correct. They needed this in place so they can go to the powers that be at Costco, get final approval to close on all the properties they're purchasing, and to execute the agreement with their contractor to mob onto the site, and they have all their permits.
Okay, great, thank you.
Hey, Gene, I just want to thank you and the rest of the staff, including Mayor Spencer and previous folks former Mayor Spencer, for the tremendous amount of work that has gone on to make this happen. Not every city is able to accomplish something like this, to attract such a desirable retailer. And so I just want to thank you for that great work and everyone that was involved.
Thank you.
I would echo those comments as well. Thank you, Gene, and specifically to Mayor Spencer.
All right, so with that, can I get a motion to pass this agreement?
Sure. Authorize the mayor or designee to execute the roundabout amendment with Washington State Department of Transportation.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And are there any abstentions? Hearing none. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. We'll get moving. Start seeing some shovels flying with Costco. It'll be good. Let's move to item H, Barb, Finance Department reorg.
Thank you, Council. And Mayor, Kelly, can I share my screen, please?
Yes. Hold on just a second here. Okay, you should be good.
Thank you, Kelly. Council, thank you for your consideration tonight. The org chart I just put up was created for strategic planning of our department. In addition to the current positions budgeted, this includes tonight's recommendations and the strategic proposals through 2025. In my staff report to council, I included background information on department growth and how the current proposal fits with our future strategy. So for the sake of time and with additional things on the council agenda, I will keep this brief. As some of you may know or may not know, our senior accountant, Josh Roundy, who has been just a huge benefit to the department in the city since 2016. His last day was yesterday. We explored options to keep him, but in the end, he did take another position elsewhere. He was the first person I thought of when council allowed me to go ahead and create a third accounting position in 2016, and I was lucky to be able to recruit him from Snohomish County. So he will definitely be missed. That brings us to the proposal today for the reclassification of the senior accountant position to accounting manager. As you can see that on the org chart, that is the bump out reclassification. The accounting manager would be responsible for the supervision and technical aspects of the department, allowing me, the director, to focus on strategic planning, policy implementation, and oversight. These things often get overlooked due to time constraints. This is the best time to do the reclassification, as I mentioned in the staff report, because the position is vacant. This way we can create clear expectations and hire the best candidate for the job that we need. The budget impact of this reclassification is estimated at about $7,000 for 2021. And that's if it's hired at the top step. If it's hired at a lower step, if that person is hired at a lower step, then the impact won't even be that much. So a fairly small increase for 2021 versus the benefit of the position. The second part of the proposal is to authorize the addition of an accountant position that would focus primarily on capital projects in public works. This person would take over the majority of the public works grant administration and capital project closeout processes that are being done by the upper level public works staff. That includes the engineering staff, the capital projects manager, and also the public works director. Additional duties would include budgeting, accounting, and reporting for capital projects and for the Transportation Benefit District once that becomes funded, as well as administering the Federal American Rescue Plan Act, the ARPA funds that were anticipated this year and next year to get from the federal government. This position was originally included in the strategic plan in 2021, but is yet to be included in the budget. The fiscal impact of the position is estimated to be $51,700 for 2021. The majority of the salary and benefits for this position based on the duties and functions will be allocated to those grants that they're administering and the capital projects that they'll be dealing with. So that will minimize the impact on the general fund, street fund, and surface water operating funds. And I know this proposal is being made outside of the regular budget process, and as the finance director, I like doing things within budget process. But through a number of discussions, our management team felt the timing of the proposal was prudent, if not necessary, not just for finance, but for public works and citywide. Overall, the financial impact of these positions is minimal and won't materially affect the general fund forecasting or reserve balances over the next few years, again, because the majority of the costs are coming from grant administration, grant reimbursements, and capital projects. The mayor and city administrator are in support of the recommendation to authorize the reclassification of the senior accountant position to accounting manager, as well as to authorize the additional public works capital project accountant position at this time. With that, I'm happy to take any questions or comments from council, unless Director Durpo or Warrington or Administrator Brazel have anything to add.
Nothing to add.
I could just add, looking forward to having some help. This is something that I know we budgeted last year and it didn't make the cut. So happy to see us finally be able to do this. Just sitting here tonight off the top of my head, I counted 13 different grants that the city has currently and ones that are coming up. And it's just a heavy lift, and having somebody to help out Public Works with all the grants and the administration of them would be fantastic. We're all good project managers, but we're not accountants. So I look forward to having that. Josh will be missed, that's for sure. He helped us out a ton too. So fully supportive. Thanks.
I'll just add that Barb, you did a great job presenting this, and just from the HR perspective and classification, the reason why it's good to reallocate when it's vacant is, if we were to hire a senior accountant now with senior accounting skills, and then in 6 months to a year realize that Barb's span of control is too large, or we assume the sewer district and her span of control is too large, then that senior accountant that we hired may not have the skills and abilities to have a supervisory capacity. So it's just best to, if we're thinking about this strategically, recruiting for a position now with supervisory skills in mind would be very beneficial. And it might not be something a senior accountant that we would hire would maybe want. So this is what's best for the city and growth, future development.
So the way that I look at this is, first off, the staff is asking for something, then they don't usually ask for something that they don't need. That has been true for the past 12 years that I've been on the council. The other way I look at this is that we've done a wonderful job at Lake Stevens for getting grants to do a lot of the capital projects that we do, and we have a lot more to go. We have a sidewalk program we're trying to get off the ground. We've got roads that need to be taken care of, and all those can be done through grants and matching grants. We need somebody to be able to do exactly what they're talking about. And without that help, it slows us down instead of getting us to get to the end game that we're after. So I am fully in support of the request from Barb, Eric, and Anya on this.
So I have a question that's probably outside my lane, but I know the labor market is extraordinarily tight, both the blue and white collar. Any idea what the applicant pool, expected applicant pool will be like to fill this position, and how long it'll take to fill?
I am not sure I can answer that. Accountants are always, there's always accountants, and in government, we tend to move around. We tend to move from government entity to government entity depending on the benefits provided. That is another reason that the accounting manager position will probably be more desirable than a senior accountant position. They'll actually get some additional supervisory ability out there. And so that will be good. And then the specifics of the capital project grant administration, that one I'm not completely sure of. Generally, we have some pretty good luck sort of pilfering from the auditor's office. So I'm really hoping we'll have some luck there again. I haven't put out any feelers to them, as I try to be as transparent with them as possible. Since they come and audit us, I don't want to, let them know I'm stealing from them. I just put out there that auditing experience or BAR's experience is preferred. So at this point, I'm not sure. We're hoping for a great candidate pool. We'll see.
Thank you. I just want to add, Barb, I appreciate your technical skill and also your ability to explain complicated financial matters to those of us who have that are outside that field. So this is another example of you being able to explain that to people like me with a limited proficiency. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Steve.
All right, so with that, can we get a motion on this action item?
I'll move to, I don't have the exact language, to approve the financial department's reorganization, authorize early classification of a vacant senior accountant position of accounting manager, and authorize the establishment of an accountant position for public works.
Second. All right, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion on the motion? Hearing no discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Thank you very much, Council. That's much needed position. Eric will be able to work on some other things other than figuring out where the dollars are going, which is great. All right.
Thank you, Council. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Barb. So with that, we need to go into a discussion item of the proposed DEIA commission ordinance. Councilmember Jorstad.
Thank you. I don't need to spend a lot of time on this. I know we were all given a draft provided by the community. Worked very hard on the document. I found it really interesting to read. I disagree with Mayor Gailey in that I think that a commission would be successful in our city. I think there is pretty robust energy to move in that direction. And I don't think that it's an either or conversation. I think that, Mayor, if you're interested in a community advisory council, I think that could be a really successful tool in our tool belt. I also think a commission would serve as a very useful tool for our community. So I would like to volunteer and propose to take the ordinance draft that we received and meet with city staff or legal staff, if that's what makes sense, to clean it up a little and present it to council for a vote.
Do we have the opportunity to have some dialogue at this point and discuss this a little bit?
Let's do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. I appreciate your willingness to step up to the plate, Angie, and do that. However, there's always a however in life. I'm kind of struck by the comments of these folks. I've got a couple of questions, and I'm assuming that your involvement with them is much more than mine. So hopefully you can enlighten me on some issues. Transparency.
That may be an incorrect assumption, but I'll
give it a go. Give it a go if you could. Transparency. And that's a theme that was over and over and over. And I guess help me understand what a commission would do to accomplish transparency.
I think I appreciated, Mayor Gailey, your comments and just going a little bit into more detail about how transparent you envision the advisory council being. I think that's sort of your choice and your purviews. I think the concern, in my understanding and from listening to the comments, is that a commission is required to follow Open Public Meetings Act. There have to be minutes. Those have to be available. It has to be open to the public. I think there is concern that if an advisory council is seated, that it doesn't have those same requirements.
Right, but I guess what I'm kind of getting to is this persistent comment that because a commission is created and it elevates the transparency, and I struggle with that in the sense that I don't what elevates it? What is the magic that, and there's probably a bunch of folks listening in right now that are just clamoring to speak, but what is the moment that makes everything so transparent by having a commission?
I think it's because the openness is sort of codified by RCW or by the Open Public Meetings Act, or there's rules above and beyond us that require those meetings to be open and recorded. And this is just my perception. I don't want to speak for the group, but from listening to folks, that's my understanding of the concern, is that an advisory council is held and conducted, and the agenda is sort of at the purview of who that council is advising. And I mean, Mayor Gailey made it clear that his intention is for that to be open and public and for the public to be able to attend. But I think there's concern that that's his decision for that council and not a requirement that comes with having a commission.
Okay. So I guess, and I wrote down everybody's comments here. And I hope the other council members will indulge me on this, but I'm trying to understand.
I also, I mean, like I said, I don't want to sit up here and speak for people that were commenting either. I feel like.
No, I know, I realize that, but jokingly I said, you're probably more closely associated to these folks than I am. I mean, let's admit it. So I'm relying on the expertise of my fellow council members to help me understand this issue. I mean, part of our job as a council is to try to get educated on issues we're not familiar with and try to learn and hopefully understand. Because some of the comments that are made, honestly, are head scratchers for me. This idea that we have supposedly a 25% of our community is made up of folks that are associated or members of the BIPOC, and then we argue that the community isn't welcoming. I just don't get that. I mean, Lake Stevens, we're under the assumption that because we don't have a commission, the implication is that we're not a welcoming community. And I will argue with anybody all day long about that. I don't agree with that. I think Lake Stevens is a fantastic welcoming community. Otherwise, these folks wouldn't have moved here. So I'm really struggling with that one. And we, like you say, we've got 25% of our community is, associated with that group. It's obviously we are including those people. And so this idea that a commission will provide equitable access to city services, again, I'm having a real tough time trying to understand that concept. So, and Mary, maybe you could enlighten me on that.
Well, yeah, I'm listening and I'm thinking about the commissions I know about, and the one I'm most familiar with is the Planning Commission. And to me, the Planning Commission was not driven by the city. Their purpose was to talk things over, weigh things, and very well-run meetings. Just impressed the heck out of me when I'd come. And what they are is they're separate from the city, but they're a part of the city, and we listen to what they come up with. And the fact that we had so many people speak today, to me, reflects that there is a need for a commission. We have our Veterans Commission, which I think is just amazing. And yay, guys, I see you out there. I just think a commission just has its own, it stands separate, and yet it must reflect our city. And I think if that many people say they don't feel welcome here, then I think you need to listen to that and say, oh, okay, maybe my experience is not the same. It's funny, I've talked to people as I'm out walking right here in the Point in at Crosswater, people that I talk with who are people of color, who are a Muslim or another culture. And I say to them, what do you think of that? Do you think we should have a commission? And they say, yes, can I join? That's what they say. Or I talk to a teacher of kids with special needs, and I say to her, what do you think? Do you think we need to be inclusive? What do you think? Should we have a commission that says loud and clear that Lake Stevens is about being inclusive? And as a mother of a child with Down syndrome and a grandmother of a child who's 1/4 Mexican and a transgender daughter-in-law and a gay daughter, to me, diversity is all over the place and we need to celebrate it. And I see many, many opportunities for us to make ourselves set an example And yes, I'm grateful for Mayor Nearing and what he's doing in Marysville for sure. And yes, that is a advisory council. I agree. But I've heard so much here of people that really want this to be a commission, and I just have to stand in support of that. And I hope you're hearing me, Councilmember Peters Hagen. I'm not meaning to be bossy, but sometimes I am, just saying. But I hope you'll just hear what I'm saying about my feelings.
No, and I appreciate that. Like I say, I am trying to understand this issue. I appreciate your input. I still struggle with the fact that I don't know how a commission elevates things. I think the first step is probably appropriate, as the mayor has advised. I think there is enough energy from this group that, quite frankly, I don't see them dissipating, because for lack of a commission, I see them galvanizing, I guess, and moving forward, and with or without the city. And so I would encourage that they do that. I kind of drive back to this point. I don't know what the elevation of a commission, what that status brings to the table. So those are my opinions. So.
If I might just make a comment on something Councilmember Dickinson said, I would disagree with you. The Planning Commission and all the commissions are directly related to the city. You provide their work plan. You tell them what to go look for and what to do all year long. Under an advisory council, the council doesn't have that power. They have the power to decide their work plan. It's much more decentralized than a commission would be.
I guess I find it interesting that Murraysville was brought in. They brought in John Naring, and it was touted as being the example that we should look to. In fact, just our last meeting, we had a number of people comment that we should look to Marysville and follow their lead. And I appreciate Mayor Naring. He took the time to talk to me, about what's working for them and what's not working. And so I just find it interesting that that's taken as an example of what we should do. And then there's a pivot, and I don't know where that pivot happened. But I'm curious about the role that none of the other commissions or boards, have an outside unsanctioned group that determines who is on that board and who approves that. Can you comment on how that came to be, and how this group would be seen as necessitating authority that's greater than any of our other boards and commissions?
Well, first off, what I want to point out to you that I'm the one that told the Allies for BIPOC on a question I was asked by Stephanie Ruiz to how do we move forward. And I said, if you want to move it forward, write an ordinance. And because, our staff are busy, it would help to have a template made by the Allies for BIPOC to look at, to see what their thoughts are and what a commission would look like. As soon as I read the draft, I saw several errors or several problems with it that there's just no way that those would be allowed to stand. We don't have any other commissions that have any of that kind of thing going on. And so what really what would happen is we sent this forward, it would have to go through our normal process of getting an ordinance through legal and everything else, and everything's got to be, wordsmithed and all that. I don't see that we would go away from how we would normally put people on a commission. And the way that that would be right now with this commission, seeing how it doesn't exist yet, I would think that that would be myself, Councilmember Ewing, the mayor, and probably one of the staff, either Anya or Kelly, or if the mayor thought there was somebody better to do that. Now, if they invited somebody from the outside to sit on that, that would be fine, but normally that would not be done. Because it's up to us to make those decisions on who comes in. There's a couple of other lines in there that would definitely have to be changed. We don't need to discuss those right now. If it does go forward, they definitely need to be discussed. But I don't see that we would have to have anybody from the Allies of BIPOC or any other outside organization to be sitting on that committee. That would be totally up to us. So that's. I hope that answers your question, Steve. If I've missed it, then let me know.
I appreciate that. I just, the reason I guess my question is directed more at Angie, because I've noted in all the communications that most of the communication I see from the Allies for BIPOC, she's CC'd on the email, that's forwarded from Kelly. And so I'm operating an assumption that there's direct collaboration going on. And one of the Stephanies tonight mentioned as much in her comments.
There was no direct collaboration. I saw the ordinance at the same time. I think maybe the day before they sent it to Kim and I. Kim forwarded it. So prior to that, I hadn't seen or provided any input whatsoever.
And I did not either. I didn't give them any input other than they need to write it. And I also told them that they could use the Veterans Commission as a template.
I haven't had a chance to look at the Veterans Commission template, but I noted the other 5 pages. Is that I'd be curious to see how long the Veterans Commission and how closely those mirror each other.
I know they got it off the website, so it's a published ordinance.
But I certainly a lot of work has been put forward on that, and I think that's it's been instrumental in helping helping us get to the point where we have if our advisory council is any bit is active as our youth council is, youth advisory council is, I think our city's in for a treat as far as the level of work and productivity that can happen.
Any other discussion on this?
I guess I would like to know what next steps look like.
I think your next steps are, if you wish, refining the ordinance. It takes 2 council members to bring an ordinance to put it on the agenda. And if you think you got the votes, then bring the ordinance.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I would encourage that we work with the advisory board, council, whatever you want to call it, at this point, and see if we can work the bumps out of the road, I guess, so to speak, and give that a try. Like I say, it's as Councilmember Ewing has mentioned, Marysville was highlighted as the model for that, and apparently the mayor Gailey has brought forward what Marysville has done essentially, and yet that doesn't. We seem to be in a different realm or category for some reason. So I would suggest we just move forward with the advisory group, give that a go, and see how that works out. I mean, the opposite could be true with the commission too. There's probably no perfect solution, so probably a little bit of a art in motion, I guess, so to speak. So.
And that's something I would ask the council is let's give this a year shot. Let's take a look at the council and see if it meets the needs of what people are asking for. And if it doesn't, we can revisit a commission. Those are my thoughts. All right, any other discussion on that? All right, hearing none, we come to the end of our agenda. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
I have a motion and a second. And all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Who was the second? Who was the second? Sorry, details.
I think it was Steve.
I heard a first from Peter. Steve. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. All right, everybody. Appreciate the work. Great team tonight. Great work tonight. And just go out and help your neighbor out and do good things in the community. Thank you.